are saying through the death panels, and they've set them up. They don't call them that, but it's these federal boards that are staffed by insurance company execs, bioethicists, who decide you don't get eye surgery after 65. You don't get knee surgery after 60. Oh, you were overweight, so you don't get that knee surgery, or you don't get that. I mean, literally, they admit in Time Magazine, Newsweek, they're rolling it out now, going, well, you're paying for it. Those of you that are healthy, you shouldn't have to pay for it. Well, see, we don't need to pay for people that have made bad choices. That's why it's a free market system. But once you have that trap, now we've got to have social control. And so that's the big plan. And they admit the plan is to control everything and have the big insurance companies make you buy health care. It's already increased the price in the last 2 years. Just the fact that it was in place and being phased in, a 25% plus increase in cost. Most analysts said it's going to go 50% in the next 2 years. It makes more people dependent on the system. There was already charity care, but they got rid of the Hippocratic Oath 15 years ago in medical school that they'd had for thousands of years. Hippocrates, going back to that my dad was taught in dental school. You do a 30-year care for free, or you get local charities to pay for the lab work and things. All these so-called charity hospitals that are really for-profit, they're supposed to, people don't even know. I think the illegal aliens get the care. They go in and say charity care. Boom, by law, they're giving it. One of my crew members had Crohn's disease. His insurance had dumped him a long time ago. It's before he even worked for me full-time. And I said, no, there is charity care. His doctors lied and said it didn't exist. He found out about it and had like a $40,000 surgery for free. For free, because he couldn't afford the insurance. And he was somebody making, lower middle class wages at that time. They wouldn't insure him. And he couldn't pay for it. And if you pay the top dollar, it'd been $200,000. But the charity care calculation for everything put together in 2 weeks in the hospital and a bunch of his intestines removed was $40-something thousand. So they're getting rid of that. There's no Hippocratic Oath. There's no you're supposed to do the health care part of it for free. It's not just about playing golf on the golf course. By the way, it's bankrupting doctors. They don't make the money they used to. When we come back, I'm going to break down the rest of it. The trap, letting control freaks and social engineers in government who say there's too many of us run everything. The insurance lobby wrote the entire thing. And it dovetails with the IRS is to be the enforcer now, the collection agency for the private Federal Reserve, who this tax pays to, will now be in your health care. And the Supreme Court said this is a tax. What an incredible admission. It's actually true. They go, we have the power to tax. Yeah, the power to destroy. But it's illegitimate because it's out of your purview, your jurisdiction, and it goes to private banks that own the insurance companies. Oh!
A little over a year ago, I began...
And like a boa constrictor, they're going to take their time coiling this system around us and squeezing us. During the short break, I was watching part of Obama's live speech from the criminal house, the White House there, that is being disgraced by all the rats and criminals that are inside of it publicly and all the different crimes they're committing, from putting our military under NATO and UN command and telling Congress they have no authority to giving al-Qaeda control of Libya and areas of Syria, as we reported 4 days ago, back on Sunday. There are special forces from the West backing al-Qaeda, getting near and surrounding the president's compound there in Damascus. I mean, there's just no end to the unbelievable wholesale evil that the globalists are funding in front of everyone, because the general public is in a trance and it's too lazy to get into the complexities of what's happening. But it's not even complex anymore. In fact, I had the guys during the break, I said, type in Obamacare does not cover pre-existing conditions. And the law comes up. The Associated Press comes up. And we can put that on screen for folks if you're watching on Prisonplanet.tv. If you're a radio listener, just type in Obamacare does not cover pre-existing conditions for kids. And the reason I raised this is I was watching during the break Obama speak. And he was saying, well, we need this for families. We need this for children. You know, we don't need this to bankrupt someone. We need to cover people's conditions. It doesn't. It makes you buy insurance, lets the insurance companies control the type of care you get. The code word for that is, well, there's too many unneeded tests. The doctors are just trying to make money. No. Daschle, in the book he wrote on it, and that's in the health law, said, oh, well, if you're over 65, you don't need that eye surgery. You need to go on and die. This is how they run socialism. But it's socialism on the bottom, pure profit to the big banks on top. And we have it on screen. If you scroll down, Obamacare does not cover pre-existing conditions for children. And that was from almost 2 years ago, right before Congress passed the law. Hours after President Obama signed historic health care legislation, a potential problem emerged. Administration officials are now scrambling to fix a gap. Oh, it was a mistake in the highly touted benefits for children. And it still doesn't guarantee it. I mean, it is just such a scam, ladies and gentlemen. Such a fraud. And written by the insurance companies. So the doctors and nurses are no longer in control of the care. And now government's involved, and they could say, oh, yeah, we've got to ban soda. We got to ban milk. We got to ban popcorn spreading all over the U.S. Or put big taxes on it because it goes into the health care fund that's then paid to these stinking insurance companies. And you've got to go buy it from them. And that's why now that there's no market and they can force you to buy it, it's gone up 25%. That was about 6 or 7 months ago I saw that number. They were projecting 50% in the next few years. But healthcare has already gone up a bunch. Yeah, because they're making you buy it now. There is no end to this. And in Canada, in England, in Germany, I talked to the people over there. It is selective. If they don't like you, they put you to the end of the line. In some areas of England, you can wait over 2 years for surgeries that are totally operable, but if you don't get them, you're dead. Oh, you got a tumor in your liver. Yeah, if we got that out in a few months, you'd be fine, but you know what? You're going to wait a year and a half. You're dead. You're dead. You're dead. This is the scum government, the people that crave control in our lives even more. And it's all over the world they're putting this in. It's the same big criminal banks who have control the issuance of currency and credit as Ponzi scheme operators. They're in control of the whole planet. I had Rosa Corey, author of Behind the Green Mask, on today. We have moved her. I apologize, but this is obviously breaking news. We're going to move her to sometime next week to expose the UN takeover of our society at the local level, but via UN UNESCO that sets the standards. The first director general of it was Julian Huxley, Aldous Huxley's brother, who was a top eugenicist and the founder of transhumanism. They said, and George Bernard Shaw and Bertrand Russell, go read these Nobel Prize winners, people like Bernard Shaw or Bertrand Russell, saying, we're going to take over with government health care and we're going to kill you, dead in the hammer, because you're a useless feeder. And who are the useless feeders? The truth is they create the useless feeders of the welfare and then use them as an army to take us out. Then they kill them next. Just like they fund Al-Qaeda to attack everybody. I'm so sick of it. People better understand the bankers learned 500 plus years ago in the black nobility wars in what is Italy today, was city-states, how to finance all sides. And they've done it ever since, the Rothschilds, all of it. This is how they work. Let me tell all the stupid, wannabe liberal socialist idiots out there, chump sucker morons. Did you get free health care with Obama? No, you'll never get it. Did you get that free house, that free car? Did you get your economy back? No. And all of you suckers for Romney, he's bought and paid for by the same interest. Oh, Romney, quote, wrote Obamacare. What does that tell you about him?
We're on the march.
This has all been carefully planned out. The anti-free market monopoly banks that run this country, and you guys have that clip ready, right? They admit they're establishing world government in every financial publication. Decades ago, it was in elite financial publications like Trilateral Commission minutes that they themselves released in the late 1970s. That's how I knew. 3 global regions, shell derivatives to countries, hold the world hostage to the debt bubble that is the banks. By increment, get direct taxes in the name of bailouts transferred to the banks. It's impossible to ever pay it off, but they hold you hostage for the total transfer. They raise taxes and regulations to shut down all competition, stall economies, bring in carbon taxes, and create a post-industrial world. And then they can control everybody. They want you so poor that you've got to get your health care, your food, everything from them. And what are they saying in Europe and now the United States? If you want your food stamps, you're going to have to be up on your vaccines. So now the people are calling their bluff that it's not the law to take the vaccines that are full of cancer, viruses, you name it. We have the Rockefeller Foundation documents at Infowars.com, sterilants, cancer, viruses. If you're a new listener and they're saying, what? Just type in Rockefeller Foundation documents, sterilants, and vaccines. Carnegie Rockefeller Foundation documents, cancer, viruses, and vaccines. Go read it! They're killers! They're killing us! They're murderers! It's in the game! They're training the military incrementally to have war with us. They're buying, now we've learned thousands, it was hundreds of armored mobile pillboxes. That's little machine gun nests for those that don't know. Shotguns, machine guns, armed robot cars with huge 50 cals, armed drones in the skies. 450 million rounds of 40 cal, 250 million rounds of 9mm. 100 million rounds of 50 cal for domestic operations. I mean, they're just arming, stockpiling weapons, foreign troops coming in, FEMA putting out press releases, NLE 09, just type it in, 14, 15 countries training to kill us, training for war, training for hell. And they're going to implement this massive re-education takeover that'll make Stalin's re-education and Lenin's re-education look like a cakewalk, look like Sunday school. This isn't a game, people. They mean business. And that whole act, my instinct was, this is all an act. Alito, all them, they don't want anger to build over this. They want to just drop it on us. Because they're scared of things in their Google metrics, studying mass movements, which they admit can literally predict the future. They know that if it would have built the last 6 to 8 months while the Supreme Court was hearing the arguments and things, so the Supreme Court would say, oh, this doesn't sound constitutional in the arguments, and oh, the Supreme Court's going to rule against it. And I said, no, they're not. And people are like, well, you're wrong. And I said, well, okay, well, I hope. And then they just drop the hammer. And I want to have hope, but you're not going to get hope from organized criminals. You're only going to get hope becoming wise to them. I knew in my gut, and here at the office, I said, you watch, they're going to uphold that. Everybody's like, but they say it's going to get overturned. And Obama came out and said, I don't listen to the court. And I said, I've even said this on air. I said, I think that's all a shill to make us think that I think I said this on air, I did, that when the court does this, well, it's like, well, Obama said he might ignore him. But now I guess we got to listen. So it's just all an elaborate shill. Just like when we were going to protest the fly garbage and the body scanners and the groping. We did an opt-out for Thanksgiving for upwards of a week and a half, 2 weeks. They just shut it down nationwide. That was confirmed. Because there wasn't a real terror threat. They're staging all that. It was, oh my gosh, they're going to say no. It's going to totally shut things down. We can't let them have a victory. It's that simple. This is all psychology. And the minute you realize that they're the enemy, they're criminals, and they want to implode things, no amount of tickets, no amount of taxes, no amount of regulations. I know what they do. I remember when they jacked up prices to go to national parks and tried to kick out a lot of the old folks that were there 15 years ago or so, the old timers that weren't tyrants, and put in the environmental control freaks who would then take over the surrounding areas in the UN buffer zones under Bill Clinton's executive order.